What can unite a former sewing machine technician and present-day business owner and a social activist who was born in a refugee camp in Southeast Asia, where her parents lived after escaping from a war-torn homeland? Or what can be in common between the son of a nomad who grew up in East Africa and a violinist from Eastern Europe who played in orchestras around Latin America, learned the Spanish language, and then moved to the U.S. where she continued her artistic career? Human beings of different races, age groups, life experiences, and credos. Different religious and political views, yet nevertheless united by one destiny. Who are they?
Hmong daughter, woman. Mom and Dad, I can see that I'm just a Hmong daughter to you. I feel it when you speak culture and traditions, to me, to others. That my capabilities seem limited as a Hmong woman, and that I am not the one who is supposed to support you or lead in the name of my father, our family. I'm just a Hmong woman who is supposed to take care of all that is closed inside a house, a home that is known to distance the hearts of Hmong daughters and women. I am reclaiming myself in that. I can share with you and I can show you what mankind can't. Because hidden in that broken home where each of my limbs are deeply connected in the heart of the Hmong movement, life. Success, love, and happiness doesn't only come in the form of a son, a man. Because I can sweep away the clouds and give you the light of the sun. I can quench your thirst and carry you gallons of the ocean. I can build you shelter, gardens, and show you resources of the earth. I can create art, life, make wonders of the stars. I can fill your hunger up and give you the riches by the wealth of my love. But that can only be a reality to you if you open up to receive me welcomely, your daughter, a woman.
I was born as a nomadic child, so that I didn't get born in a certain city or a certain hospital, but I was born out in the country, out in my family's dwelling. I was born there.
I studied English from the first grade, and Ukrainian, the official language of the Republic of Ukraine, from the second grade. And then, of course, there was always Russian. So I was brought up in a very multilingual environment, multicultural environment, because even though, once again, I'm from Ukraine, we spoke Russian at home. Russian was the official language of Soviet Union.
My father actually was a soldier, and that was part of the CIA army that was allies with the United States during the time. So he enlisted at a very young age, at 16. Met my mother and married and started my family.
These are the members of the different immigrant communities of the Twin Cities. We present the new faces of Minnesota. Meet them, listen to them. Stories of newcomers from Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America, of course, differ in the details, but have so much in common. Every one of them had to go through a lot to blend into American society. Learn English, find a job, a place to live, and gradually build a career in a new country. Our characters are natives of Southeast Asia, East Africa, Latin America, and Eastern Europe. Somalis, Russians, Jews, Hmong, Mexicans, Poles. Everyone's history is full of interesting facts, but let's look into each story one at a time. Let's leave behind everyone's country of origin and ask ourselves, what was their first day in America?
We arrived in Minneapolis, Minnesota, 1998, I believe it was mid-February. I just remember looking outside and just seeing complete whiteness. Like, it was very snowy. And at the time, I was still, religious. So I was like, Allah, like, what's happening, God? Is this like Armageddon? Like, it's kind of terrifying for me.
And I will never forget my first winter in 1988. Oh my God. I had just a short jacket that was kind of padded jacket, and my friend said to me, Eva, you will freeze.
We were not prepared for that cold. I remember like our uncle buying us jackets and Addis Ababa, but like those jackets are for like African weather. We came outside and it was like whoosh, they opened the doors and it was cold. Boy was it cold.
And my first impression of the US was, wow, this is not what I expected at all. Where's the skyscrapers?
My friend took me to a nice restaurant and I saw on the menu potato skins, and we don't eat potato skins in Russia. So I asked, well, what's that, Lisa? And she said, well, you know, potato skins, potatoes. And I'm afraid to ask what chicken fingers are.
My first impression in America. Early morning, we got up for some reason. I didn't realize it was a jet lag at the time. We just got up, bright morning, and our apartment was a basement one. So the window was on this level. And the first thing I see is this bright green grass at my eye level with the droplets of dew on it. It was so beautiful.
When I first came to the United States, I was really young, so I didn't go to school yet, but I was raised learning the Hmong language. So when I did finally go into American schools, I had to learn English. And so I remember going through ESL classes, English as a second language. And I actually went through ESL for most of my elementary years because at home, my parents and my family most spoke Hmong.
When we first came, 1992 was kind of a boom year. There were a lot of people that came in 1992 from former Soviet Union. In our school, St. Louis Park High School, a school of, I don't know how many people they had, 1,000 people. There were probably, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe more, Russians. And everybody called us Russians, even though I was Ukrainian and somebody else was, you know, Azeri, somebody was Belarusian. We had a lot of people from Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, but we were all called Russians. And to this day, once again, when people say, where are you from? First reaction is Russia. And then if they say, where in Russia? Well, I'm actually not from Russia, I'm from Ukraine. And if they say, where in Ukraine? Wow, that is amazing because nobody ever knows where Ukraine is.
I befriended the Somali kids first and foremost, but I realized that they were very cruel. They've been in the country longer than me, and they understood the social workings and spoke the language, so they kind of made a fool of me, would tell me to do this, and I'd be like, all right, and just so they'd make me do stupid things just to get a laugh out of it. And so I didn't really like that, and so I was the very first school I went to was Whittier Elementary School, and it's in Uptown, and I just remember not knowing anything. I remember which is very unfair to me. Like I remember just being tossed in the class and expecting to do the work that was put in front of me. So I had the Somalian girl sit next to me, and I'd always copy her work. And I copied so well that I copied everything down to her name. And so finally the teacher realized that I didn't know much, so he sent me into ELL class, and the school, it was a very, very hardship for me. Like I would get into conflicts a lot of the kids would try to make fun of me, and I wasn't having it, so I'd get into fights, and my mom would always have to come to school, and she would try to explain to these people, this kid doesn't speak the language, other kids are making fun of him, and the only way he knows to react is with violence. So, after a while, it wasn't working, so my mom decided to take us out of that school, and we went to a school called Clara Barton, which is, it's called Clara Barton Open. Very nice school. We were the first Somalian kids, me and my sisters were the first Somalian kids to go to the school, and so they welcomed us with open arms, set up an ELL class for us, which stands for English Learner, English as a second language or something like that. It's English learners.
I also participated in sports in high school, which was also a great way to kind of become part of something, and feel, once again, more part of this new world that I was living in.
Another no less important component of one's heritage brought from the homeland is spirituality and religious affiliation. For a majority of people who grew up in the former Soviet Union, state-imposed atheism was the norm, and upon their arrival to the U.S., they were faced with the dilemma of associating their ethnic heritage with the religious background of their ancestors. Even in cases where these people were not religious, nevertheless, the soul-searching of organized religion serves in preserving their culture and ethnic heritage. The same applies not only for Eastern European Jews, but to the Hmong community, where religious practices are diverse and vary from ancient shamanism, similar to the beliefs of Native Americans, to Christianity of various denominations.
My family is Muslim. They're Sunni Muslim, and as a child, I had to go to Islamic school.
My father is a shaman, so he know how to do some spiritual remedy.
We are Russian Orthodox, and I was baptized when I was a baby, and I brought my faith from Russia.
Growing up, what was practiced is, there was shaman and the Hmong practice, and then there's, the Christianity and the European American version of religion.
Вообще выросли мы, конечно, атеистами.
For the most part, we grew up as atheists, of course. However, when we came here, the question of religion became significantly more important than it was there.
History of Poland is incredibly interwoven with Catholicism, and historically speaking, really Polish people survived because of a very strong, practically mystical connection with religion.
I go to the Temple Israel, to that synagogue.
We do have some holidays. We have some traditions. We have, some attributes, like we have a menorah in the house. We like to incorporate kind of practices of our ancestors into our life.
Я очень почитаю и люблю.
I very much honor and love the traditions of my people.
And obviously being connected to our, mosques and religious worship places. The biggest would be Eid, is what we call it. It's the end of Ramadan, where we were fasting for 30 days, and the last day after Ramadan, we celebrate the Eid, where we have, we get together and we eat, and it's a festivity, That's my favorite day of the.
I don't consider myself extremely religious. From what I've learned and what I've been able to take out of my experiences, it's mostly, doing good unto others as you would want them to do unto you. I don't attend church weekly or anything like that. But I do believe in a God. I do believe in a higher power. And it's mostly, just the general rules of this world that most cultures and most religions take on. And even I can relate that to basic rules in shamanism, which is, be kind to others, don't commit murder, crimes, lies, and things like that. So I've been able to extract some of the big themes that I feel really reflect my life and the lifestyle I want to live. And moving on forward, these are some things that I would share with my children, if I were to have children or family one day, is to really let them choose what it is they want to believe. And maybe it's not one particular culture or one particular religion, but for them to just have some very core values to ground their life in, and to live successful, happy lives, whatever religion they choose.
Part of my new adopted family was white, so that also helped me, going to their Thanksgiving, going to St. Patrick's Day parades, and and my grandma Bridget, may she rest in peace. I remember every Sunday, me and my stepdad Brendan and my 3 sisters would go over to her house and watch movies, and I remember her making me a root beer float for the first time. Delicious.
There were a lot of different people there. There were Russians, there were Vietnamese, Chinese, There were a couple of guys from Africa. There was a Japanese girl, Japanese exchange student, Shinobu. That was one of my close friends. And we really became fast friends, even though sometimes we couldn't understand each other. But I was friends with the two Vietnamese boys in the ESL class, Tony, Tuan, and Phong.
You know, different communities or different people should not judge a person that walks through their door that, oh, just because they're Asian that they can't speak English, or that just because, oh, you know, he is African American that he's gonna rob me. Don't have all these pre-assumptions of someone. You're judging, you know, their, you know, human whole being, and you're judging them already before you even know who they are. You know, they might even, you know, connect you to another culture or beauty in the language.
White House has the vision, it's welcome to everyone. We don't focus on Latinos. This is community for everyone, for multicultures. And the other project that we work in, it's with Municipal ID, I Am Minneapolis, we call. And we partner with Jewish Community Action, with Big Lauren, and then also Family, Children, and Services. I can say like a White House has the food shelf. The food shelf is we serve for multicultural people, for the low-income families, and we provide food for them for free. And we have the cafe. They can come at lunch if they don't, especially for people who are living in shelter, they don't have food, they can just come in and eat. And also we have Produce Day. We call Produce Day in that day. In this date, we have two kind of things. We give produce giveaway for free, and also you can have information, education. We bring speaker to do presentation on depend what the community says. So each year we're doing like survey and ask the people what in the community what they like. If they like to bring immigration things or women's right or whatever they want, or nutrition, that we promoting nutrition things, so we bring all this information so the community has a lot of tools can use in the future, and also they can get the produce for free.
I actually grew up going to multicultural clubs and being exposed to the really rich Native American culture that was in that area. And so I was exposed to that, and my parents really embraced the Native American culture because it was so similar to Hmong culture in respecting nature, respecting animals, and life beyond human beings. And I think that was when my parents finally felt that Hmong people were not the only different people here, that Native Americans were also so diverse, and that they were here before America became America. And that the culture was extremely different from mainstream culture. So I think, in a sense, that gave my parents assurance that there was diversity here, and that we definitely need to appreciate diversity.
One of the challenges each immigrant faces is acquiring the English language. Even if the newcomers studied English at home, being submerged into a foreign language environment without having adequate conversational practice causes certain difficulties. A second, if no less important problem, is the loss of the native language by the immigrant kids. The younger the child was brought to the U.S., the faster he or she gets accustomed to the new environment. From daycare and at school, children quickly acquire the English language but lose their native tongue, even if the parents keep on speaking their native language with kids at home. To some, the loss of the native language does not trigger a sense of loss of the culture and ethnic roots because the inevitable assimilation into American society and acquisition of new social and cultural values adequately substitutes the loss. However, plenty of teenagers and young adults, even those who have forgotten their native language, at some stage in their lives come back to the culture of their ancestors.
4 years ago, my daughter-in-law and myself, the two of us, studied Russian Cultural Center and the folk ensemble Belazeria. Elena is our artistic director and my right and left hand and my legs when I need her. She is everything. And gradually all our family got involved. My grandchildren are dancing with the studio Radnik, the kids' dance studio. My husband, who doesn't speak a word of Russian, he is our Ded Moroz, Russian Santa Claus. And now my son started dancing and singing with us. It took us 4 years, but he finally folded. So the whole family is in there, preserving, researching, and presenting Russian culture and art in Minnesota.
At first we were trying to assimilate, and we would speak to each other only in English, even though, half the people could barely speak. But I think it was, the more you speak English, the cooler you are.
I wanted to appear American. I acted American. I spoke Somali very little, and at the time we were the only Somali kids at the school, so I didn't really speak Somali to anybody else besides my sisters.
I met some people who were exchange students from Russia, and we started getting together on Friday nights and having little get-togethers, little parties.
I took it upon myself to do self-study of who I am, who my people are, who they are, historically.
And I started getting my language back, because the language is really the first thing you lose. It's very hard to keep that language alive if you don't practice it.
Preserving our languages, that's how we preserve our identity. That, and especially with the young kids.
As far as language, I'm still picking that up. I'm still relearning Hmong. And I didn't really appreciate it until I got older and realized that I might just lose it for good. So now I'm practicing as much as I can. And I'm finding that other young adults my age too are doing the same.
And still, however important saving the native language and being bilingual is for the new Minnesotans, as well as following their traditional culture and customs, there is something more, something that makes them relate to each other and unites them. And that certainly is art, in different genres and manifestations. One may enjoy the landscapes, forests, and plains of Minnesota, its 10,000 lakes, clear skies, and blossoming trees in spring. However, instrumentally, art, whether it is painting, poetry, or music, does not just reflect the surroundings, but attempts to answer the eternal questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? Why and how do we live in this world? What are our goals, and what is our purpose in life? Specifically, art, as something which transcends the simplicity of nature, is instrumental in human self-discovery and is what makes humans relate to each other and unites the characters of our film.
My dad was a big Beatles fan. I grew up listening to the Beatles. I love the Beatles. That was my first love, and I absolutely love Paul McCartney.
The Beatles became my number one love for the whole life.
When he would come up to me and he would sing in my ear, he would sing,
"Listen, do you want to know a secret?
Would you promise not to tell? Whoa, whoa." And I think he was telling me, his oldest daughter, "I love you, you're my baby," and he would sing the song to me, which at that time didn't have a meaning of, I knew the word love, I think, but that was pretty much it. But it was just such a sweet thing that he would sing it to me personally.
See, I left my homeland just a little too soon. At the age of 6, man, I didn't know the truth. Didn't even lose my first tooth, so it was hard to leave behind what I knew. My father, my brothers, my sisters, and my culture. But I knew one day I'd come back to give them assistance. Got to the airport and saw the city at the distance and started screaming about what I've been missing. Like, y'all ain't got dirt roads, you got paved streets and even sidewalks for the feet, but still there's people with nothing to eat. Didn't realize that till the age of 18, standing on the corner as a homeless teen. Went to the food shelf, they said they needed an ID to categorize and identify me as a homeless youth under the poverty line, which in reality is the barrier that divides to try to conquer and criminalize my mind. But I somehow push into the light and always remain self-defined.
And from St. Paul to San Francisco and back to St. Paul, I wish you knew how I struggle to find my purpose in life, on how I had to leave home to understand the home in me. And on this long 4 years walk, I found my courageous independence, my united strength, my real passions, my aching mistakes, my blunt humility, my echoing guilt, my deepest hurt, my difficult forgiveness, and my saddest loneliness, and most of all, my satisfying confidence. These are all that have built me to find my beautiful self today. And from St. Paul to San Francisco and back to St. Paul, there was not a single day that passed me by where I didn't think or miss you all, because you all were my inspiration to not give up on my life.
Human life is similar to a long journey. Here in America, a mobile nation, it doesn't take too much effort for us to move from place to place. To a certain extent, this characteristic is shared by newcomers to Minnesota as well. While some people prefer to settle in America for the rest of their lives, in other cases, immigrants return to their homelands like birds flying north during the spring. There is something deep inside which calls these people back to the land of their birth.
In the future, if Lao became democracy and allowed people to settle there and open business, then it's good. It's a good opportunity too. I still thinking about that too, because I can speak Lao too, and I still value our people who may need help, and if I can help with some way, then it's good. I can go back and help them.
Today, I say this is my home, and I know who I am. I know the incredible contribution that I bring to this country.
For the longest time, I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to Kiev, and I thought that, you know, whenever the life would get a little bit better there, I would go back, no question. And now I know that this is my home. So that's why I'm Russian American, you know, of a Jewish descent.
I want to go home. I envision myself, living here for another 2-3 years, working, trying to save money, go home, and go back to my family.
I do associate myself with being from Thailand, but I think because of the culture there, it's really hard for me to associate to Thai because I'm not Thai. But I think Thailand's a beautiful country, and there's a huge population of Hmong. You know, the history of my people, the history of my family is from Laos and Thailand. So I still feel drawn to the country. I would love to travel there and spend time there. Otherwise, I definitely feel that the United States is my homeland. And for me, I have a strong passion for our community, the Hmong community here, and especially the LGBTQ community. So I definitely think that my work is here and my heart is here, and until, I have another call or passion for something else, then I'll move on to that. But really, my heart is set here.
This goes back to another one of our Somali sayings, and a lot of languages have this saying, is they say far fall mandaqla, means one finger cannot wash the whole mouth, meaning like together we're stronger, divided we're weaker.
Living next door to each other, humans developed rules of coexistence. Ethnic concepts, regardless of religious or secular origin, are based on multicultural interactions of different ethnic groups. It is especially critical for U.S. society built on the principle of the melting pot. We just scratched the surface and attempted to discover the problems of adaptation for new immigrants in Minnesota. All the challenges and difficulties every one of them had to successfully handle. Many of them managed to save and enhance their native culture, absorbing the best from American traditions, and adapting their native traditions to their new homeland. This is the way, by tackling the stereotypes, by uniting different traditions, Newcomers to the Upper Midwest blend into the existing society, bringing their skills and enriching the lives of those who came to America earlier than they.